Hi. So I've had a lot of questions about section 2.3, numbers 9 and 10. And I'll be honest, some of you, I might not have paid attention to the units when I answered you earlier. So I wanted to do this video so I could show you the difference between the two and the similarities. All right, so for number 9, the exercise is based on this table, and this is how we got the information. Otherwise, top sentence doesn't matter. Awesome. Here's our table. What do we do with it? Well, what we do with it is all in the question. So if you invest $10,400, I'm going to stop right there. So we invest our present value, $10,400. In the United States has a 2.5% interest rate. And remember, to move the decimal, we move it 2 places. That's 2.5%. Think of it as 2 cents, and the 5's on the right. And the interest is compounded monthly when to the nearest month. So find T in months. Will your investment be worth $20,000? When will, so that's in the future value, $20,000. So we can set up our compound interest formula as such. All right, using monthly 12 in all the places that it's needed, and I don't know why I did partial symbols and partial exactness here. Let's put it all in symbols first. R over M to the MT, so we can see what we're working with. So this is 20,000 equals 10,400 times 1 plus 0.025 over 12 to the power of 12t. Okay, now anytime we're solving for a variable in the exponent, we're going to use logarithms, and that's why this problem is in this section, right? Finding when. So our first step is isolate the exponential part. So let's just divide everything by that 10,400. And when we do so, I'm going to just cancel a couple hundreds here. I'm going to call this 200 over 104 because I'm really too lazy to simplify that. I know I'll be putting it into my calculator anyway, so I'm just going to leave it as something easier to enter in my calculator, but nothing exact with decimals or anything, just in case, until I absolutely have to. All right, so first step is to isolate. Our second step is to switch forms. Once you have the exponential isolated, we switch forms to say 12t is equal to log base 1 plus 0.025 over 12 of 200 divided by 104. And that looks horribly clunky, I get it. Now, if you have the fancy button on your calculator, go to math. You can arrow all the way down. I choose to arrow up because it's closer. I could enter this as it is. Don't forget the divided by 12. And in here we have 200 divided by 104. Let's close that parenthesis. And we'll get, oh, whoops, a little swipe there. We'll get 12t equals 314.2115542. Now, alternatively, if you don't have this type of calculator, maybe you're using a Desmos app or just a regular calculator, scientific calculator, that scientific calculator will have a log button, but not a log base button like this one. So we could always use the change of base formula, which says this is log of 200 over 104 divided by the log of 1 plus log of the base, right? So if we enter that in here, 200 divided by 104 is in the numerator, the log of, divided by the log of 1 plus 0.025 divided by 12 and we'll get the exact same answer. So if you have the fancy key, awesome. If you don't, you're still going to get the same answer. Now here, we're going to stop. This is our answer. If we divide by 12, we'll get years. So this answer of 314 is what the number of months will be. Let's check it out. Fantastic. So problem 10 is going to be the same idea, only we'll take that extra step. We'll actually divide by that 12. So let's see. Number 10. How long to the nearest year for Brazil? Brazil. I can't write it like that, actually. If you notice anything produced by Brazil, there's no Z. Brazil is 4.2%. Okay. How long will it take in years, Brazil, to double its value? If it's compounded every 3 months. Okay, so we know what we need to do. This is our ultimate goal. We're going to find T in years. Our Brazil yield of 4.2% tells us our R value will be 0.042. Compounded every 3 months happens 4 times a year. So your M is 4. But what do we do here? Double its value. It doesn't tell us what the value was to start. Anytime I get to select, I like to start with $1 and double to $2. But some people don't think that's very exciting. So, okay, let's suppose we start with $100,000, because that just sounds amazing. And a future value of $200,000 would be even better. Check this out. So as we use our formula, the same formula as before, our compound interest formula, we have 200,000 equals 100,000 times 1 plus 0.025 divided by 12 to the 12t. All right, remember our first step is to isolate. Isolate the exponential part. And if we isolate the exponential part, our first step is to divide by 100,000. And what happens? 200,000 divided by 100,000 is 2. 100,000 divided by itself, that cancels out. And we're now down at the situation where we started with $1 and we doubled to 2. And that's why anytime it's asking for doubling or tripling value, I always assume a start value of 1, to double it's 2, to triple it's 3. It just makes it so much easier because we don't have this isolate the exponential part. But we'll get there regardless of how you choose to do it. Now that we have the exponential part isolated, we will convert forms. So we will have 12t is log base this ugly stuff. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tuesday, how did you get a 12 and a 0.025? It's because I am not paying attention to the problem. Funny thing is this is the second time I've tried to record this video. I don't know how many more errors I can handle. What I actually should have put in here is 0.042 and a 4 to the 4t, 0.042 over 4 to the 4t, and down here 4t should be equal to log base 0.042 over 4 of 2. Whew. Or log of 2, doubling, divided by log of the base. And in this case, it turns out, because our denominator is 4 and not 12, our base is a little easier to deal with. 1 plus 0.042 divided by 4, 1.0105. So sometimes, like in number 9, I'll use the ridiculous base with the 1 plus r over m. And sometimes when it's not a 12 or a 3 or a 6 or anything like that in the denominator, I'll actually use the decimal. Either way, let's take log of 2 and divide it by the log 1.0105. It's nice that it's right above where I'm entering it, so I can't mess it up. And we get 4t equals 66.359987. Now, what this tells us is the number of times total. So this every 3 months, so it'll tell us how many times it's going to happen. So if we divide by 4, so 4t is the number of times total, whereas t is I had to write down some numbers without talking. T is the number of years. So 16.58, it says to the nearest year. I'm going to put 17 years. Cross a finger, submit answer. And there we go. So the long-term investments based on country yields of 10-year government bonds. Hope you enjoyed it.